What up, my name is Brad. Welcome back to 5-9 Gaming. Today, I hinted at it in the last video. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald retrospective, quote unquote. It's kind of more of just an informal retrospective. I don't like to make crazy edited videos. But Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, they are my personal favorite Pokemon games. Platinum, specifically. I got love for Diamond and Pearl. I ain't playing it again, though. Not happening. It's platinum all the way, baby, on this one for sure. If you enjoy this style of content, make sure you leave a like, sub to the channel. You can follow us at 5-9 Gaming over on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on everything. Make sure you give us a follow. It's greatly appreciated. If you enjoy my commentary, you want to follow just me, see some cute pictures of cats and whatnot. You know, there was a bit of a cat sighting in the Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald video. Just saying, hey, if you like cats, bro. Just saying. Anyway, give me a follow, Radical YT. Let's get in. Let's talk about my personal favorite Pokemon generation. So, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum kicks it off strong. Right when you get into the game, you go look at your TV and they're talking about the Red Gyarados, which none of us back then were speculating about remakes. Yes, we'd already had Fire Red and Leaf Green, which will get their own video. We already had those, of course. There's been a couple remakes happen, and we had Ruby, Sapphire, Pinball. We knew things were going to be up, right? None of us would have known that Heart Gold and Soul Silver were going to come out, which, again, will get their own video. But it's such a nice little just homage. It's just one of the most iconic scenes in Pokemon is the Red Gyarados. They talk about Lance and the trainer, and then you got this cool animated cutscene where they Mount Sinnoh, and it's just everything about it just sets an amazing aesthetic right out the gate. And then you walk out, you bump into Barry. I'm not the biggest Barry guy. He's fun. Stop finding me money, bro. I don't have $1 million. Leave me alone. He's a little annoying. Let's put it that way. But it kicks off in such a fun, just way. I love it. In Platinum, you see Cyrus. In Ruby and Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl, you do not see Cyrus. So that's about the only difference whenever you really get to that point. I'm not going to go, we're not making an entire video where I tell you the differences between Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Not happening. But you see Cyrus at that point, and it really sets like a weird, ominous tone in such a happy-go-lucky startup. And then you get to the starting Pokemon. So normally you have your Rattatas, and you have your Pidgeys, and you have your Sentrets and your Hoot-Hoots, and you have Zigzagoon, which I would argue Zigzagoon's kind of iconic, quote-unquote, Poochie, and it kind of fell off pretty hard. Poor guy. He fell off really hard. Wurmple's fine. But I think Gen 4 has the best starting generic Pokemon. Bidoof is literally iconic god material Pokemon. If we're talking about just everything, Bidoof is fantastic to this day. Starly, Staraptor, there's no arguing. Staraptor's fantastic. Delawhoop with Kricketune, bro. Well, Kricketot. He's a little less iconic for sure, but his cry is the one cry that when I say Delawhoop, you know what I'm talking about if you're a Pokemon fan. And then, of course, Shanks going into Luxray. Everything about the starting, all four of them are just phenomenal, quote-unquote, starting Pokemon when you kick it out the gate. Not to mention the starters are fantastic, but this video is not about the starters. Love it. Amazing intro. The first couple hours of Diamond and Pearl and Platinum just set such a tone for the entire game. I love it. Obviously, this is a generation that gave us Stealth Rock. Arguably not my favorite move. It's very usable, and it's very, to this day, a very meta move. Stealth Rock is just that move. It has been since the moment it came out, where it just destroyed the meta for quite a while there. And you get out the first gem later. Either way. This is when lore in the Pokemon world gets crazy. But it's crazy in a way that, again, it's kind of hidden. Because at that time, this is like 2005, around that time, 2006, somewhere around there, there still wasn't amazing internet. Like, I had a computer at this point, I had a laptop, and I could get on and look stuff up, but it wasn't anywhere near this level. Maybe you were in forums, and at that time, I think Reddit was out. Maybe you were watching YouTube videos. This is very early YouTube. Maybe that was a thing, but it wasn't, distinguishable at that point. So I remember playing all the way through Diamond and Pearl, and then when Platinum came out, that was when Action Replay came out. And I was never much of a cheater. I didn't use game sharks and stuff. It just wasn't my thing. I mean, yeah, I used Missing No Glitch, but that was in the game, so I never felt bad about it. Yeah, your boy hopped on that Action Replay train, and it went choo-choo, bro, and I went on. I remember just hours on end running around just everywhere. And I remember getting to that point where you talked to Professor Oak, and he was like, oh, come back whenever you got this letter or whatever. I didn't do that. I just ran, and I ran into Shaman, and I was like, dude, wait a minute. Hold on. So that's when I did a little bit of research, and I was like, what is a Darkrai? Dark. What is a Darkrai, bro? Come to find out, you could get the pass and everything using the action replay. Get into that house, you catch a freaking Darkrai. And then I looked up and I was like, what is an Arceus? Hold on. And dude, my mind was literally, I would have been in middle school. And nobody was into Pokemon at that time. All my friends were like out of it and like, oh, we like to date. Yeah, losers. But I was sitting there playing Pokemon the entire time. And so I got the Azure Flute, climbed to the top of the steps. Oh my god. It was such a just monumental time to be a cheater in Pokemon. Because I never gave out the Azure Flute and stuff like that. Because I'm sure they did distributions for Darkrai's items and for Shaman's items. But I don't remember them at all. And then obviously the movies came out. It was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, here we go. Arceus is Jewel of Life, Shaman and Sky Warrior, and Darkrai and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah, they got all their stuff. But before those happened, they were just in the game, and I had no idea. Maybe other people knew, but I most definitely did not. Lore in these games, when I say Sinnoh is the progenitor region, it is quite literally that region when it comes to the Pokemon world. You got Arceus, that created everything. Quite literally. You have the deity of space, the deity of time, Satan. It quite literally has everything. You have the lake spirits that gave emotion and knowledge and empathy and all this stuff. Willpower, not empathy. Gave all that. You have Cresselia, who duels with Darkrai. Lore in these games is actually absurd. Regigigas ties all the Reggies together. Come to find out later on when we get Regieleki and Regidrago and all this. It's mind-blowing when you actually look at what Generation 4, and it's so fitting to be dead in the middle whenever Generation came out. And at that point, Pokemon was very, very established. I mean, they've been established since 1999. But you know what I mean. Pokemon had resurged with Pokemon Go. And then when Sword and Shield came out, it's very fitting that the very middle generation of all of this is the generation that just ties the entire Pokemon world together. Quite literally. Like, those Pokemon quite literally built the world. It's not like Mewtwo, where he's just really strong. It's like, oh, Lugia, cool, I got this bird tower in this city. No. These Pokemon control the universe. And I've always thought that was amazing. I think that's why Generation 4 is my favorite. You get into everything from the side stories, Pokemon Evolutions and Generations and all this stuff with Cyrus and catching the legendaries thing, making his own universe, and there's just so much to it. And obviously Arceus, with Legends Arceus and Volo and all that stuff tying together. BDSP, for me, we'll talk about it in its own video, was one of the biggest letdowns because I was so excited, and it quite literally was just Diamond and Pearl. It wasn't even Platinum. The distortion world in Platinum is just fantastic. It's so just well done. Because if you play through Diamond and Pearl, and then you hop into Platinum, you get to the end, and it's you and Cynthia running around the distortion world like they did in the movie. It's just so I could gush about it for literally hours about how Platinum is just such a solid. It fixes everything. It fixes everything that was wrong with Diamond and Pearl and improves everything. It's so good. It's so good. This was around the time when you could start trading Pokemon around the world. And my feeble little 12, 13-year-old mind had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what it meant to hop onto the GTS and I could just trade Pokemon. This was the first Pokedex I ever actually completed myself. No friends helped me trade because I just traded on it was such a just prolific time in my life. It's insane how much Generation 4 stands out in my mind because I was around 12, 13 years old. Actually getting to the point where my brain actually functions. Sorry if you're under 12. My bad. Give it a couple years, maybe it'll happen soon. But everything, combined with the slot on the bottom to play my Game Boy games, it was just such a peak time to be a Pokemon fan. And I think this wasn't really the time that drew people back in, at least in my opinion as a Pokemon fan. A lot of people fell out around Emerald, came back around, not really Black and White, but X and Y time, and then fell out, came back with Sword and Shield. That seems to be the standard. You know, every couple years, a bunch fall out. Obviously, new kids are born every day. So that's, you know, whatever. Neither here nor there. Fun fact for you, if you don't know this. So if you have an original DS, which I do, I have the original DS that has the Game Boy slot at the bottom. Depending on what game you put in the bottom, Fire Red, Leaf Green, I think Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire, you'll get different encounters in different areas. And I think that's one of the coolest things ever. And then you could also transfer your Pokemon just directly from your Game Boy game in the bottom. Everything about it was so masterfully done when it came to Platinum. That's why I think a lot of people really roasted BDSP, including myself, because it had a big name to live up to. Platinum was that game. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, also that game, but you know what I mean, same generation. That was that game for a lot of people was Platinum. And BDSP came out and it's like, all right, cool, yeah, that's great. It's good in its own right, but it is definitely not Platinum, let's put it that way. All the old Pokemon getting new evolutions is one of my favorite things to this day. I will always love that. I think it'll always be one of my... Magmortar is like the only exception. That you can't argue with me, he got worse. Magmortar's cool, but Magmar was like really just a solid, great design. He's just been great forever. But Magmortar definitely. But you got Electivire, and you got Mamoswine, and you got freaking Yanmega. There's so many that I could list off that just, in my opinion, are fantastic Pokemon that have, to this day, I mean, freaking Weavile is one of my favorite Pokemon ever. I didn't even like Sneasel until Weavile came out. Absolutely great. I think that those evolutions, I'd love to see more of it, but I also like that it's been a little bit tied to Generation 4. Obviously, you have Legends Arceus that gave us Stantler evolution and stuff like that. Girafarig just got its evolution in Scarlet and Violet. You know what I mean. But Gen 4 has like 10 or 12 of them. And they're all just boom, 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 back to back to back. Fixes a lot of Pokemon. Not like Jinx and stuff, they got a little left out, but the Pokemon that it did fix, it really fixed. So the last 2 points, and then we'll get into my rating of this game. Again, getting to know Cynthia throughout, just like Steven. Cynthia is peak. I think Steven is my favorite, just aesthetically, I just like him more, but Cynthia is just... She's that champion, bro. Like, she's really strong. She's really cool. You meet her throughout the entire story. She helps you with stuff. You meet her grandma, for God's sakes. Everything. She's just... And she has a freaking Garchomp. Everything about Cynthia is fantastic. She literally saves the entire Elite Four on her own. The Elite Four... Obviously, there's no fire types. Everybody's done that joke a million times. There's no fire types in Generation 4. Whoever thought about that, they're like, yeah, hopefully use Infernape. If not, here's Ponyta. Literally it. Then you get Magmortar. That's about it. But that's why when you have Flint, it's like, okay, Flint, he's over here rocking just like literally non-fire types. I love Flint. He's cool, but you got Aaron using bugs, and I do like Bertha with her Powdon and stuff like that. But they're nowhere near like iconic, right? Like, they're not Koga, and they're not Lance. But then Cynthia, by herself, single-handedly puts the team on her back, though, and saves the entire Elite Four. And she's genuinely that battle for a lot of kids. We all joke about Miltank in Gen 2. Even Steven in Gen 3, but again, he's all steel types. You got a fire type, you're set to go. Cynthia is the first time you fought a team that was genuinely well-rounded, fully trained up, egg moves, TMs, everything. Cynthia pulled up, and BDSP didn't change that either. That's one of my problems with BDSP, was that dirt easy until Cynthia was absolutely cracked. She was ridiculous. Love it or hate it. Fantastic. Having a Spiritomb and everything. She saves the Elite Four. Getting to know throughout the story, love it. I'm going to say 9.5 out of 10. Red, Blue, and Yellow, I gave it an 8. Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I gave it an 8.5. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, I gave it a 9. Again, this is my favorite generation. I could see anybody falling from an 8 to a 9 on this game. I say 9.5 because it's the game, when people ask me what is my favorite generation, it's not even a question, Gen 4. And that includes Heart Gold, Soul Silver. It's not even a question that it is by far my favorite generation. I can play it time and time again. It never gets old. That's why Legends Arceus is my favorite Pokemon game now. Strictly because, well, it's my favorite mainline series Pokemon game. Secondary is Conquest, but we don't talk about Conquest yet. Definitely that game for me is 100% platinum, and it probably always will be. I don't go back and play it as much as I probably should, strictly because I don't want to crank out the DS. I'm not a big emulation guy nowadays. I kind of like to play it on actual hardware, as you can tell. But yeah, those are my games. I'm out of here. Appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much. If you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you sub. Follow us on Twitter at 59gaming. Follow me at BradicalYT. I'll catch you around. Deuces.